trading at its best.
Okay, welcome everybody to this week's webinar. Just want to do the sound check, make sure we're good. If you guys can use the chat box, go ahead and type in a Y in the chat. Okay, starting to get some yeses there. Okay. Okay, looks like our sound's good, so give me just 1 second here, and just want to make sure everybody got a couple of you here. Looks like most of you are saying yes, so give me 1 second here, we'll get started. Today, the webinar is a pretty important topic, so I want you guys to stay focused. It's not going to be very long, but it's a very important topic today. So I know that the title might kind of seem boring. You know, compounding, think of math, and you're not going to be totally interested, but it's going to be much different than you expect. So just stick with me here, and I promise it'll be worth your time. Okay, so let's just go ahead and let me bring this up here for you guys. Oops. Just got to get it to show the slide here. Okay, here we go. So for those of you, if this is your first time to the webinar, I'm Mike Swanson, and I've been helping traders for, it's probably been about 5 years now, and I've been trading for 9 years. And we started doing these weekly webinars a few months ago, and we've had a pretty big following. A lot of you, I'm sure, have been to many of them, and we had last week's, really exciting one. You might want to go back and review it. Had a lot of good comments come out of that. And today's, we'll go ahead and take a look at the topic. Today's going to be 5 Forex compounding tips. Okay, so first we're going to talk about how does compounding work. Now, a lot of people teach this. It's not complicated. I'm not going to, like I say, we're not going to get into all the math that's involved. It's not, that's not what this webinar is all about, or this topic. We're going to be talking about trading for the long term. That's what I hope you guys get out of this, is that you can start to learn that if you look at the long term, there's this huge bonus. There's this huge potential if you can think that way. So I'll give you some ideas on that, and then we'll also look at the 5 tips. Okay, so first let's just go take a look here at how does compounding work. Okay, well, I've got a really basic example here. Okay, if you started with the balance of $10,000, and then this could be any balance size here, but to give you an idea, with $10,000, after just 1 year, okay, you've made another $10,000. Year 2, you've made $20,000. Year 3, you've made $40,000, $80,000, $160,000, $320,000, $640,000. At year 8, you've made over $1 million in profits. Okay, so this, hopefully you can see here, this is just basic math of doubling the balance, but what we're doing here is doing it yearly. And the reason I'm doing it this way is because if you try to compound monthly, it's going to fail you. And many of you have probably tried it. You've heard this concept of compounding. You go out and you say, okay, if I compound my account 1% every day, or if I make so many pips per day, I'm going to be a millionaire at the end of the month. Okay, well, let me tell you the problem with that. Every day, for that to work, you have to be a winner. And you should all know by now, you can't win every day. You can't win every week. You can't win every month. Now, sure, you can't win every year, but your chances are far greater to have a successful year than a successful day. The probabilities are just completely completely turn in your favor when you look at things more long term. Just should make common sense. But like I say, the problem is somebody is out, most of you are out there, thinking, okay, if I can do, let's say you want to make, 100% a month, you want to double your account every month. Then you're doing this same math and you're learning that, wow, by the end of the year, I'm going to be a millionaire. But you have to realize is you have to double it every month. You have to win every month. And how many of you have a system out there right now that can do that, that can win every single month? This doesn't exist. And that's why most of you don't really, probably, don't even pay attention much to compounding because you've never been able to make it work properly. So that's what this webinar today is all about, is you've really got to open up and think long term. Now sure, I've had several webinars already where I've hammered this concept out of thinking long term, and the problem is it's very difficult, right? It's difficult to think of the long term. It's too far away. Everybody wants to make money now. Okay, but let's look at it this way. Let me give you an example. Okay, if you were to look back, how many years have you been trading? Or maybe some of you are brand new. Let me just give you an example. I've taught thousands of traders, and many of them I've interviewed, or I've had polls, and maybe some of you have answered these polls in the past, but I've found that there's a good amount of traders out there that have been trading 3 to 5 years or more, and they haven't made a single penny. And in fact, they've lost a lot of money. They've spent more money on Forex programs, and wiping out their accounts. They just can't even count it. They've lost count. Okay, so you think about it. Okay, well, sure, 5 years is a long time, but let's, like I say, go back and look at it that way. What would your account look like today if instead of spinning your wheels for 5 years, looking for an amazing system that's going to compound every month and double your account every month and try to hope to make you a millionaire overnight or in a year? If you were to say, forget that, if those last 5 years, if you would have been able to look at it like I've got right here for you, let's compound yearly, look at the long term for 5 years, well, you'd be sitting at a much better position than where you're at today, where you've wiped out accounts, you've lost money, you're actually upside down. You don't have that 10 grand balance anymore. Okay, but if you were able to look at it as, I don't care about what happens month to month or day by day. I'm going to look at it yearly, compound. Well, there you go. You'd be 3 years away from being a millionaire. Okay, so hopefully that puts it into perspective here about, that, years go by quickly, as you've probably learned already, and you've probably lost money because you've been focusing on the short term. Okay, now what you need to do is lower those short-term expectations and start to focus on the long term. Okay, it's not that far. Especially, like I say, if you're brand new at this, don't fall into the trap that many traders have where they've spent 5 years or 8 years maybe even looking for a system and losing money. They're looking for a perfect system, and they'll never find it. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit today about a system we've been trading. I didn't note this in the blog article, but I'll bring it up and show you that it's a system that has the same mentality. It does not look to make you money every day or every week or even every month. We don't care about all that. We look at it at the end of the year and we see where we're at, and I'm going to show you that today. So stick with me. Okay, now let's go ahead and let's take a look at some of these tips. Okay, I probably shouldn't have had them all spelled out for you, but just stick, don't jump ahead, stick with me here. Tip number 1 here is don't plan on taking any profits or principal out of your trading account for at least 5 years. Okay, you have to give compounding time to, to do what it's designed to do. It needs time. If you don't have time, the compounding formula is worthless. Okay, so you need to keep the profits in the account, let it grow, and don't take anything out because that has a huge impact on the amount of time it takes for things to grow, and it's not how this plan was set up. Tip number 2 here is Stop jumping from system to system. You've got to find something that has a good foundation that you understand why it should work, and then stick with it. I've taught this a lot, is if you don't have confidence in your system, then sure, you're going to be jumping around trying to find the next best system. All you need is a slight edge. You don't have to have a perfect system that wins 80 or 90% of the time. I've taught about, only having to win 20 or 30% of the time if you have good risk to reward. You just have to have a slight edge. Okay, and now that edge needs to be based on something that has that good foundation that makes sense. It can't be some crazy idea that's going to work for a few months. Sometimes the really simple strategies, like the one I taught last week, the trend continuation strategy, even just that alone, that's a really basic strategy, but it has solid principles that make it work. And it's worked year after year after year. And that's all you need. You don't need a perfect system. Next tip here is make sure you don't take on too much risk. This is another reason why traders don't last in the long run. They're out there trying to make 50 to 100% a month. Some are even shooting for 10% a month. And you don't need that for compounding to work. The example I showed you a minute ago was based on 100% a year, which averages out to about 8.3% a month. Now that doesn't mean that you have to win every month, and that's the next tip here, number 4, is you don't have to win every month. You can have several losing months. That's perfectly fine. You can have a really bad month or a couple losing months in a row even. The key here is as long as your years are coming out good, and even then you can have an occasional losing year. It's just going to set you back that little bit. It's not a big deal. Okay, but from now on, I want you guys to only pay attention to your yearly return. It's going to take some discipline. You're going to have to be dedicated, but this is what's going to help you finally, get where you need to be long-term with trading instead of just making a few bucks here and there every day. Okay. Next tip, number 5, is diversify. I don't know why that wasn't showing for you guys. Okay, the next tip here is to diversify between both manual and automated trading strategies. And this way, if one of your systems has a bad year, there's a pretty good chance that your other systems could make up for it. Okay, so what you need to be doing out is not just saying, okay, I need to find one perfect system and then put all my money into it. It's a very good idea to get a couple systems, both some robots and some manual trading, short-term, long-term, everything. And then that way everything helps offset each other. And it's a much bigger deal than you'd probably think. I've done a lot of testing on this, and there's many times I've found that there's been a system that had a really rough time, had a couple bad months, and I was able to pair a different strategy, and what it did is it actually complemented those losing months. It was able to get in there and profit during those losing months, which overall made the system make money in those rough times. Okay. Okay, so let me go ahead now and let me bring up one more point here. The reason I think that most traders, have a really hard time, they struggle thinking long term, is because they're trading for what I call just trading for income instead of trading to build up for retirement. Now, I don't have a poll set up. I wish we did, but maybe what you guys can do here is I want to know how many of you got into Forex or are currently trading Forex to make an income that you need to be able to pay bills with. If that's you, type in a yes. You basically need to, your trades need to bring home profit that you can use to pay your bills. If that's you, type in a yes. Okay, and this is, don't be afraid to answer. Nobody else is going to see, but I can already see I've only got one no. The rest of you are saying yes here that have answered that. Okay, one says I'm trying for income, but I'm not paying bills. That's usually the case. Most of you are trying to make income so you can pay your bills or whatever. Here's the thing. Might catch you off guard, but that you should not be in the markets if you're trading for, if you're out there trying to make an income from your trades, that's a very bad idea unless you've got a really good sized trading account. And I'll give you an idea here. There is a way you can do this though. Don't look at it as I'm telling you get out of the markets, give up. That's not what I'm saying. Okay, the point is here is if you're trading for income, what that means is you pretty much need that day by day or week to week or month to month consistency, right? You can't afford to have losing periods. Well, there's no system that exists that can avoid that. And that's why you guys are struggling and not reaching those goals that you need. So I suggest if you need a certain income to pay the bills, you need something else to supplement that or to take care of that. So you can just focus on your trading for the long term. Now I know some of you do have some decent account sizes, and what you could do in that case is have two accounts. Have one account where you try to trade for income, but don't make it that you have to, it's going to put food on the table. That's just too big of a risk. But there's still, like I said, you can still do it. You can still set up an account where you can try to make some income, you can pull profits from. But what I suggest is you get a dedicated account, figure out how much money you can afford to put into that you don't have to touch later. It's set aside. It's considered a retirement account. Put that account together, follow these 5 tips, and let it grow. Okay, if we go back to this, here to this compounding example, you're going to find these couple years will go by quickly. And even if you just had $10,000, you'll be at over $1 million if you just let it grow. And that's based on, reasonable returns that you could achieve. Okay? So let me go ahead and bring up, I'm going to bring up one of our robots. Some of you are familiar with it, some are not. It's called Trade Hero. And I'm going to go bring up the track record of it so you can kind of get an idea of how this system works, where it's a long-term system. Okay, so give me 1 minute here and we'll bring it right up. Okay, some of you are saying, you want to make income when the economy is struggling. Well, this is the idea here. Once you get this account to grow, like I've just showed you there, is, once the account grows to that point, then you can afford to start pulling money out of it and paying yourself income while it continues to grow. When you're at $1 million account and, you can pull back your leverage or whatever, but even if you're just making 5% a month off of that, you're making $60,000 a month. So, once you get there, maybe you don't even have to get to that point. Maybe at 5 years, that's still going to be $8,000 a month. That's a good income. Okay. Yeah, I've still got that slide up. I was just explaining that you can get to the point where your trading is income, but you can't do it now. It's going to take a few years to build that account up before you should start taking money out of it. And once you do, it's going to be a nice income. Okay. So what you could do is decide on it. How much money do you want per year? Set that goal. And then figure out the math here, look at the numbers, see what balance your account needs to be based on your return to get that. And then make it your goal to spend those few years getting there. You don't have to get there overnight. Okay, give me 1 more minute here. I'm going to bring up our MyFX book page. Okay, what I'm going to be showing you here is actually through beta phase 2. This is our trading strategy when, we had bugs, when we were fixing things and getting rid of news. And you're going to see all the rough periods. But then if we cut that out, give me 1 second. If we cut that out, which was basically, by about November, things got back on track. But we weren't fully bug-free until about April of this year. But even with all of that, you're going to see that the system still did really well. So 1 more second here and I'll have this up. Okay. Okay, so here's one account here that you're going to see. Okay, here it should come up now. Okay, this is an account running our system called Trade Hero Pro. The system trades on the two pairs. What we found is that there's a lot of systems that try to trade the end of New York and Asian session. A lot of robots came out and failed. And what I learned was how to trade against those guys. Take those profits that are being left out there from traders losing money during the time and trade against them, set a strategy up, and make money off of it. Now, I'm not going to get into all the detail of how it works. The only reason I'm bringing this up is to further demonstrate the point we're talking about today about long-term and how to focus on the long-term. Okay, so here is 63% return since late October. Okay, now this system is only a 21% drawdown. We kept it under 25, so we weren't out there, flooring our leverage to try to make this return. However, look what happened in some of these peaks here. We had these drawdown periods, where we're losing money. There's a month here where we lost money. There's several days we've lost money. A lot of traders would have given up right here. If we were to zoom in on this window where we kind of just went up and down for a couple months, most of you would have given up. Pretty much guarantee that. But hopefully after this lesson today, you can focus on the long term, because look at the big picture here. Okay, sure, we went up and down. We had a little roller coaster right there for a bit, but here we are, 63% return in about what is that? About 8 to 10 months. Okay, so that's 6% a month, but we're not even a whole year yet. This is not even based on a year. We might get to 100%. We might have one of these good months like we had over here in July, and that might push us up to be 100% for the year. And there you go. We have our first year knocked out. Okay, and you don't have to even get to 100%. I was just giving you that example. As long as you can get a consistent yearly return going, and don't pay much attention to short term in here. Don't let this knock you, take you out of the game, because the long term is going to make you a lot of money. Okay. So, any questions on this track record here? We started some live accounts as well. I know we've had one of our traders, Kenny, that's made even a crazier return than this. He's been trading it since July, so about 14 months, and he has made 230%. Okay, so there's some different things you can do to push that return further, but make it so you're not in there trying to make double your account every few months. That's not what this is all about. That's only going to work short term, and then you're going to find yourself wiping out accounts and not being where you want to be. Okay, so this is Trade Hero Pro. You can see if we go to our trades, let's see here, you can see we're trading those two pairs. Okay, so you can kind of see the results here. Okay, we're pretty much keeping our risk to reward ratio, right around 1 to 1. You can see that overall it is showing about 1 to 2. We're making an average of 7.5 pips, and we're losing an average of 14.5, which that is amazing for a day trading system, right? Most systems that are out there scalping like this, which are the ones we're trading against and profiting from, they're out there risking 100 pips per trade to make 4 or 5 pips. We've got a much more sustainable risk-to-reward ratio here for this system. And then on top of that, we are winning 79% of our longs, 72 on our shorts. So that's all we need. We've got our edge, and it works on the long run. Okay, let me see if I can get you guys the link to this page. Let me scroll up here. What I did is I cut out the first few months. So if I give you guys the link, you're going to see those first few months, which I can show you on here too. But those were the months where we had news affecting us that we, bugs and issues while we were beta testing it with our beta testers. So we did get that all solved, and you can see things started to smooth out. And then actually in April, I think is when we finally had everything working smoothly. Okay, so I'm going to post that link for you guys there in the chat. You can see it even, it's named beta on there, but now that one is just the demo because it's the one where we've been running it the longest. But let me just show you, I can show you guys our live account. The thing is here, guys, we've been kind of keeping this system private to just to our beta testers for about a year now. And we will be launching this privately, really internally, so those of you that are here will get notice about it. It'll probably be about a month, but we'll give you more details on that later. I will go ahead though now, and I'll jump in and show you the live account. Give me 1 minute here. Just gotta go to a different page here. Now the risk set, everything you're seeing on that account, that link I just gave you guys, is based on the default settings. Let me just point out real quick, I'm going to bring it back up without taking out that first part. Okay, so I want you guys to see this because this is what you're probably looking at if you click the link. Is right here, this drawdown period, this, like I say, was from news. If you go back and look, it's because we got caught in the Fed announcement that now we filter. And as you can see, once we got rid of that at the end of October, that was working. It smoothed everything out. We did have, right here in March, we had some losses that weren't necessary either. We had an issue with our news filter that caused it to get caught in news. So even that drawdown shouldn't be there. But I even included it a minute ago, and you can still see things worked out pretty well. So even again, like you look at all this craziness, even if you were in the beta testing phase, it still made good money on the since July. Okay, now let me show you our live account. Let me go bring that one up. We've actually got a couple live accounts here, but they're all pretty similar. Let me just bring one up. Where'd it go here? Oops. Okay, while I'm bringing this up, if you guys have any questions about the webinar today, we're going to be wrapping it up after this. But I hope you guys review this session and really put what's taught today to use, because I think it's one of the biggest mistakes traders make is putting all their expectations into short-term trading. And then, like I said, trading for income. And when a system doesn't meet that income that they need, and they lose money, they move on to the next system instead of, giving it a year or, looking at their return year to year and making sure they've just got a system with a solid foundation, which there's a lot of those systems out there. And this is one of them that I'm showing you now. Okay, so let me see. I've almost got it. Found it here. Let's see. Okay. Okay, here we go. So like I say, this one is going to be from April once we had things smoothed out. So this is actually a pretty good return for now that things are smoothed out. You're going to see just in 5 months how well it's done. Oops. Let's get this up for you guys. Okay, you know what? Let's see. This one actually started a little later. Let me grab the other one. Hang tight. Just a few more minutes. Yep, Charles pointed out it took 4 months before it finally pushed ahead. That's not a bad thing, guys. That's how you look at long-term trading. Who cares that it took 4 months of whips on and going up and down? We're not trying to make money off of it month to month. We're trying to build our account yearly. Like I said, once you get that account built, then you've got a nice income that you can pull from. Okay, so let's see. Okay, just had to find the one here that we've been running the longest. Thought we had it on here. We might not have it up yet. Anyways, I'll just go. Let me show you the other one I had up a second ago. I wasn't planning on showing these in the webinar, but I figured it would help make the point, about you actually see it for yourself in action on real money, how we're able to look at the long term and how it's paying off. So Jeff, like I said, that 45, the return you're seeing was based on, when we had bugs and issues that got smoothed out after a few months. So really, if you just look at the return, I can show you how you can do it. You go to custom analysis, but if you pull the return down to where it should be, where it started in October, there we were at like 65%, and that was only 10 months. The next 2 months could make that up. We've seen it before. July, I think, was a 10 or 20% month. So you see, and like I said, we don't have to be at 100% a year. If you're 60% a year, it's going to take probably 1 more year for it to, to get to that account size we were looking at. Because once it gets going, it doesn't, it just really takes off. Okay, let's switch this here. So some of you that are skeptical about this whole long-term thing, or you think there's other issues that are going to come out, what does it hurt to try it out? It's like you've tried all these other things for a couple of years, those of you that have been in the markets for a while, and those of you that are new, that's probably what's up for you next is, you're going to fall into that trap. So how about just trying what I know personally works is give it a year. You probably need 2 years. You never know. That first year might be rough at first. Give it 2 years of just letting a system run, whether it's a robot or a manual system. Go through those rough periods. The key is to not be trading too aggressively. If you get in there and over-leverage your account, you're not going to last 2 years. So, set it back more conservatively and let that conservative return work itself out on your account, so that year to year you're profitable, and you can get through those couple months like we saw with this system where it needs to get through those rough times, those rough periods of a couple months. Okay, it looks like I can show you this one here. Let me see. Found one the one I had up earlier. Okay. So this one's actually in May, it looks like. We had another one that's been going more than that, but let me just show you this one. Let's see. Sorry it's taken so long. Looks like it's made. Okay. Okay, here you guys go. So now you can see this is a live account. This one's made 41% with a 19% drawdown. And now this is after we've gotten these issues taken care of. Everything's a lot smoother. But this is from May 15th. So, you know, you've basically got about 4 months. Okay, 4 months of trading. There's your over 100% a year right there. If we keep up, you know, we're doing about a little over 10% a month, right? 4 months, 41% return. So there's your, everything's smoothed out now. We could be doing over 100% a year. And again, though, look at it this way. Look at this, though. We didn't make 41% consistently. It took some drawdown. It took some time to get there. It took us, you know, 4 months. And here we had a period in June for, looks like there was a week in there and then some flat period, about 2 weeks of just pretty much going nowhere until we picked up again. So if you were looking short term, a lot of you would have given up, especially if you started right here, right? If you were day one trying the system and went into this drawdown, now you've got an uphill battle, and a lot of you would move on to the next system. But if you would just stick with it, you'll see it recovers and comes back up. And we're on track for that yearly return that can make you, you know, make you a millionaire if you look at it on a yearly basis. Okay, so I think we've covered this topic pretty well. I think you guys, you know, if you focus on, if you just review what we've talked about, make it a goal to at least have one account. I mean, sure, you can do all this other stuff and keep trying to, you know, put things together with your day trading so that you're able to pull some profits out short term, but at least get one account that you set aside, you know, put as much as you can into it, pull the risk back, and watch what happens. Okay. If you guys want some more information about our Trade Hero robot, you know, you can shoot us an email or go onto our website and use the live chat. But we will be sending you more information about it. Right now it's been private while we've been beta testing for a year, but we will be opening it back up for a limited time here in about a month or a couple weeks or so. So just stay tuned for that, and we'll have a lot more information about it, and we'll get into more detail about that on a later time. Okay, so thanks everybody for coming to this webinar. You know, I really hope you guys can do like I say. That's my challenge. Just put an account together, even if it's a small account, just so you can see it work for yourself. Go put a strategy on there. Let it run for a couple of years. I know it sounds like a lot, but just put it on the side if you're still wanting to do other things. Okay? So thanks again, everyone. We'll get this recording up for you guys. We'll shoot the email out. And we'll let you know next week. We'll have a new topic for you, so stay tuned. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk with you next week.